Hey there, good evening, good Sunday evening. Welcome to another episode of Watch Soup, maybe episode 17, maybe episode
Oh,
16.
I forgot to go through and do an official
So
count.
did I. So did I. I just saw the title and I'm like, oh, I think we're at 17, but maybe we're at 16. Anyway, I am Bobby Legs and I am joined with my co host this evening, Clayton, and every week, Clayton from the
Right?
Watchdog podcast. And we gave Sanjay the night off. He needed a night off. He was like, guys, can I take a night off? And we're like, don't worry about it. We won't count it as PTO. We'll just, you got it off. You got it off,
Yeah.
man. Clayton, man, how you doing? How was your weekend?
Oh, it's a very rainy day today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, weird like flash flood warnings. There was
Hmm.
even a tornado warning for a while.
Yeah.
We didn't get that, thank goodness. I was actually supposed to run a half marathon this morning and it
Mm,
got canceled because there was a threat of thunder and lightning for like a 3.5 hour window. That's how long
mm,
they give everybody to finish.
hmm.
And they just at 4 a.m. I got the call and I was relieved actually.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had an option to run like a shorter race, but I took the option B of going back to bed. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a
That's
lazy,
awesome.
lazy rainy day. So
Totally.
good.
Totally get that. What do you have on wrist?
Moon mission to Mars. Oh, terrible. I'm completely washed out. But
Yeah.
mission to Mars, moon swatch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
on a new fun red strap too. So
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
You got to switch up the straps on.
yeah,
Put some straps on this. Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, total washout here in Northeast. Like, if any of you guys in Northeast know, or maybe in the same kind of like area where Clayton and I are, it was brutal. They closed the road by my house, going up the mountain. I'm halfway up mountain. It's not really a mountain, but they call it mountains here. And mudslides.
oh
We had
wow,
mudslides,
yeah,
yeah, it was bananas, and flooding in the basement, so but, productive weekend in a sense that, I got the kids to karate, took them to Crayola factory this morning, um, I started we have cracks in our driveway, right?
mm,
And the moisture and the rain is really, fast forward it more cracks are appearing.
right,
And so we don't want to put another blacktop, but we're thinking like down the road we're just going to do gravel. So we're not really too much into like getting the no new blacktop put on it, but the cracks are bothering me. So like I tried a couple things to fill in a crack, and I practiced on one big crack yesterday, and it looked good. It looked like that's the thing with home ownership, man.
right.
You gotta do some of these
Experiment.
fixes.
Is it Crack X? I've heard
No,
advertisements
no.
for Crack X. It always makes me
N
laugh.
no, yeah, yeah, there's a lot of humor with, especially YouTube, crack filler,
Yeah,
content.
crack
No, no,
jokes are endless.
it's like these I forget the name of it, but it's like, these, like, strips of, like, rubber and plastic, and then you take, like, a propane little torch and you melt them in the crack,
Okay.
and it bonds together, the where the crack is, and I also, did a little electrical work today. I switched out a switch, that wasn't working on the house fan, and that worked, so feeling like a man, got my Black Bay 58 on, so
Nice. Yeah, congrats
yeah,
on the rebuy.
thanks, man.
Yes.
Really, really excited. Got a couple strap I got it on the leather strap the Tudor, OEM leather strap, and that's good. It's just the weather, it's just like I can't wear it. I can't wear it. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks great, it's gonna be perfect for the winter. So I'm playing around with some rubber straps. I ordered the Uncle Seiko, like a Jubilee style bracelet that they make for it.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the bracelet for the new Black Bay 41, the red bezel that they have,
Mm.
the burgundy bezel that they have with the smaller, thinner case, and
5 link bracelet.
that
Yeah.
5 link, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
So that's kind of like a watch that I'm very, very interested in. So I figured, hey, why not see if I can, kind of get something similar for the Black Bay 58 and see how I like it,
Yeah.
So that's
That
coming
bracelet's
tomorrow.
awesome. I tried on the, new Black Bay 36, that has
Uh-huh.
that and the 41 too. What a great bracelet.
Oh,
So
okay.
the vibe of that watch is completely different before. Before it was a little less, formal, and now I
Mhm.
would say it's on the dressy side. That
Yeah, yeah,
bracelet's
yeah.
really nice, but it gives off a completely different vibe than the older Smiley dial version,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sunburst dial and everything, so definitely
Yeah.
a little on the dressier side, but really nice.
And that's why I went with the Uncle Sig with that one,
Yeah.
because this is gonna be my de facto dress watch, if I
Yeah,
ever had to
it
do it.
works.
And I think yeah, I think it will look really good. Anyway, let's say hello to chat before we get into the soup. Hey, Rick is here. How you doing? Bill K is here. James is here. Steve Timehill, how you doing? Bruno, what is up? Wayben is here. FP Wilson, are you back from Vegas or not? I am. I am. I feel like I'm a little let down. I thought some watches were going to be bought, and the over was 1.5 over under, and we didn't hit the over. Um, Justin is strap in. Wolfgang, sorry I'm late. Sorry, buddy. Doing the best I can. Caliber YQG is here. How you doing? Cowboy Swami. Humidity was like, yeah, like 3,000% for sure.
Oh,
I
it's
mean, that's what it was like here. Seriously, I
it
know you're down
reminds
in
me of
Florida, but
Puerto Rico or, like, something tropical, like, it
yeah,
reminds
yeah,
me
yeah,
of
yeah.
that wedding we went
Oh,
to in Puerto Rico, so tr and you're
yeah,
from
I've been
there,
there.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's just like it's literally like everything is so wet and damp,
yeah,
and I just need we just need to dry out.
yeah.
Kevin S is here. They work the second shift at the Cradle of Friday. Hard workers for those kids. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mez9, what's going on? Straight up tropical. Absolutely. Paul is here. What is up? Um, yeah, I am Mr. Fix It. I'm getting better. I'm not gonna do plumbing or oh I gotta rebuild like part of my stone wall, retaining wall.
Mm.
So that's gonna and I gotta figure out oh man, I gotta figure out like a proper drainage system around the house because we don't get water much, but when we get this much kind of rain, like our basement starts to flood a little bit.
Is it
So it's just
finished? Is it a finished basement?
no, it's
No.
not, and that's why we're not really like we were thinking about getting like French. My wife was really concerned about mold, and
Yeah,
we had a guy come in last year. He's like, "There's no mold in here. There's just a little bit of mold. Don't worry about it. You're good."
good.
And we were gonna do a French drain, but like we got an engineer come to just to make sure, and he's like, "You don't need." It's like you don't need French drain. You don't need it. If it get floods like once or twice a year, a little bit, you're fine.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
um, Pale Horse is here. How you doing, Pale Horse? I think I saw KR Joy somewhere. Big Wrist, what's going on? Good to see you. Um, yep, there is KR Joy. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Hey, Hobby Bobby's here. All right. What's going on, man? And Canadian Watch Monkey, hot here in Vancouver. Weather is crazy,
Hot
man.
everywhere.
Hot everywhere. Um, okay. Hey, let's get started with the chat, the soup.
Hoops
Okay.
on?
Soup's on. Soup's on. Okay. And we're going to start off with Watchfinder and Company, our watches getting bored featuring Bark and Jack. And this is more of the podcast sort of type format that Talking Hands has. And he had Bark and Jack on, and they were talking about our watches getting boring. Just a brief synopsis because we're kind of going to go off on our little tangent here, Clayton and I. Um, there were, the Watchfinder guy was saying like, he feels like most watches are either black dials or white dials, and everything like, kind of looks basically the same. And they had Adrian to come and talk, and he was talking about how like, hey, he kind of likes that, and his jeans are blue or dark blue, his khakis or chinos are cream and tan color, you know what I mean? And some of these like new brands and watches really he was touching on the fact with the marketing that they really can't, because they don't have a lot of budget for marketing, they really can't really explore and do some crazy stuff with design per se, because they don't have that kind of budget to market the kind of watches and that's why they kind of tend to go with the boring or the homage kind of looks, because that they know it's gonna sell something to that effect. But
And they have
the question,
shareholders they are
yeah,
accountable to as well, so they,
yeah,
once you get to a certain level of making that amount of money, people want you
hmm,
to stay there or go
yeah,
up, so
yeah,
safer sells with watches to the,
right.
mass majority of people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, but it begs the question when you look at the title, "Are watches getting boring?" And my personal take of it is that, um, I mean, I don't think so. I think you're gonna have most of the watches kind of look the same, right? But there is some sort of there is design innovation out there for sure. You may see that in a lot of like independents and whatnot. The only thing I would say is that the watches aren't getting boring. Maybe my collection is getting boring because it just seems that I tend to buy like black dial watch. I mean, most of my watches or all my watches have black dials, right? I do yearn to get a little color into the collection, like a blue dial here and there. I like to add some chronos here and there for sure. But I don't have anything that would be you would say, wow, that's really standing out amongst the other watches in your collection. And it gets back to like what I heard Pete McCombs say is like, um, it's very bad to have too many everyday watches because then your collection gets boring because everyday watches they have a certain look, right? And so that you can wear them every
Right.
day. So you know
Right.
what I mean? And so that made a lot of sense to me because I was like, I was like, oh, I like the sub and I like to explore, but they're all kind of like and then I was looking at my other watches and I'm like, I have a bunch of just three hand watches that some with dates, some without dates, and that is it. And it's like, oh, I got like a lot of everyday watches, and my collection is kind of boring. So it's not that I don't think like watches per se are getting boring. Is that just like maybe my tastes are boring? Does that make any sense, Clayton? I know you got a very eclectic taste, but from watching other people around you who collect, do you see that a lot?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're spending a lot of money, it's easier to go you feel better about it when you're buying something a little safer, right? Because
Hmm.
when you're spending $5,000, you don't wanna especially in many cases, we can't see these watches in person before we buy them. We're buying them blindly online. So, if you're going to be spending like five, $10,000 sight unseen, like it's a little safer to buy something maybe on the more boring side, black diver
Hmm.
or white diver, or
Yeah.
just something, a little more right down the middle instead of something way out there. I don't think watches are getting boring. I think, and I'm probably channeling Pete here, I think the watches and the marketing we're inundated with are a bit traditional, maybe
Hmm.
I'll say,
Hmm.
like who are the brands that do the most marketing? Rolex, with
Yeah.
their black diver, they don't do anything too out there. Well, maybe the bubble dial and the
Yeah.
puzzle dial, but outside of that, they're not really doing anything. Omega, I'm seeing a lot of Longines ads on TV
Yeah.
recently. Um,
Yeah.
they have a couple out there things, but for the most part, traditional looking
Hmm.
watches. So, and YouTubers, who are the most popular YouTubers. I mean, even Watchfinder, Rolex is in the title of every other video they
Hmm.
do, whether it be
Hmm.
clickbait or not, but it is. Adrian's talking about some of the mainstream brands. So, those interesting watches are out there. I think you just have to dig a little deeper to find them. And I think
Yeah.
and they even said that, a lot of these companies aren't spending or don't have the marketing budget, right? They don't have money behind them. They talked about having these money machines behind them, like the Swatch Group brands.
Hmm.
They have sort of an unlimited marketing budget where they can be out there and sponsor different, Omega's involved with James Bond and the
Yeah.
Olympics. Like that's awesome marketing that, and Moser or MB&F just isn't going to have. So you kind of have to be in the know in order to, and we obviously have dug deep, and many of us in here, me and you, and on the
Hmm.
chat, we've owned these sort of more interesting out there watches, but yeah, we didn't discover them overnight. It just took being in the hobby and
Yeah.
knowing people who own them. So no, I think the messages that we're receiving are mostly for boring watches, and that's what we're exposed to, and maybe that's why we go there
Yeah.
sometimes. But no, I'm definitely drawn to like my frosted dial Fortis, and
Yeah.
yeah, like, but it took a lot of icons or traditional watches to get to that point and make me
Yeah.
realize I do like something a little more interesting. Like even the moon swatch, like I like that. The watch is okay. I mean, it's cheapy, but I like the idea behind it, the strategy, like why Omega and Swatch Group came up with it. And I also like that a lot of people hate it.
Hmm.
Like it's not boring when it emotes such strong emotions in people or evokes strong emotions in people. So that's whether my watch is getting attention, whether they hate it or love it. Like, I don't know, it's a good conversation starter either way, even if we disagree on it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And and when you were talking about like, with some of these smaller brands who are getting in and they have shareholders to answer to or people investors to answer to, right? They want something that sells. And so, boring seems to sell, right? It makes sense to, especially with the bigger companies, to cast a wider net. I mean, they're making hundreds of thousands of watches. They're casting a big wide net here, right?
Yeah,
With that, so they have to find something that's low enough to appeal to everybody, right?
right.
And only really these and nobody else is saying this is not necessarily what I got from the video or not. This is just like I'm free forming in ideas and talking here that like really the only ones brands who really can should be able to take these chances, and you don't see that with Rolex, and that's going to be part of what we're going to be discussing in Federico's video. Is like they don't really take chances, and they should be taking chances, right? I mean, like they have the marketing prowess, they have the money behind it. But they're in business to sell watches too at the same
Yeah.
time. So somebody somewhere is looking at the analytics and the stats, and they're saying and the data, and they're saying, okay, well that doesn't really sell. We got to make business. We're a company here. We got to make business decisions and to do that. But anyway, I think for me personally, when it comes to my collection, I do have to set some guardrails, and I do have to watch myself because I can get very comfortable with a certain look and then end up collecting many of that kind of look watches. And it's okay to have something that's a little risque in the collection, and I've had that, right? I mean, I had the Remain Jerome, the spacecraft,
Yeah.
and I've had some other watches, not necessarily risque, but like I had a Kadoki too. I had a Benziger, something with guilloche, you know what I mean, something a little bit different. And I think that's the way I would like to collect. Yes, have like a base, have like some watches that will appeal to my boring side, but have a couple one-offs that are just a little outside my comfort zone, but also
But
aesthetically
are you doing
pleasing.
that for the right reasons? Are you doing that because you want to or because you think you should?
Well, no, no, no. I think no, I want to.
Okay.
I definitely want to. I also inflict a lot of like pain into the collecting myself that
Oh, we all do.
undo stuff. But I mean, like,
Right.
would I love to have again a watch in my collection that has like a three different types of guilloche on the dial? Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could definitely do
Well,
that.
you're in
You
the
know what I mean?
unique spot of having a channel also, and I know, like, maybe not so much anymore, but there has to be, like, a lot of pressure to, buy and sell watches so you have content.
Yeah,
So you have watches that you can, make videos about and do reviews about, and I know a lot of, we know some other YouTubers who struggle with that, and
yeah,
especially, you're pretty good about selling watches, but I
yeah.
know some people who are a little hesitant to do it, and before they know it, they have
They're
their
swamped.
hoarders pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah, right, they're swamped, so, yeah,
yeah.
that's
I, I
probably the
I've
other unique position you're in.
yeah. But I've also given up on like doing reviews, like
Yeah,
or putting that pressure. Like if I get a watch that comes in, and we'll talk about that too with the other Watchfinder or the Talking Hands video.
right.
Some mistakes. I'll highlight some of that, but it's basically just a chat now. You know what I mean? This is it.
Yeah,
This is it.
yeah,
So,
this is good.
um, anyway, let's speaking of the chat. Let's see what the chat says, and then we'll jump on to the next topic. Kevin S here. Most people don't own so many watches. Maybe buy one or two, so might go with more traditional colors. That's fair. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Steve is saying this has to be one of the most exciting times in the history of watch manufacturing, excepting when Breguet et al. Were working. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it is very, very exciting time for watches. I mean, look how I think the community has in the last like 4 or 5 years. I mean, there's more and more people. There's more creators and contact brands and micro
Yeah.
brands popping up. There's people who have a lot of interest in it. Can you watch Monkey saying the watch collecting hobby can be extremely expensive? You really need to save to have self control for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Kevin S. I have a collection of 8 Aquaterras. Call me boring. No, you don't. Unprecedented designs, materials, price points. Watches accessible to the general public for sure. The mid-tier recycles and many copy each other to a certain extent. Um, Rick is saying, I think the bubble and puzzle watches by Rolex are taking a risk. Definitely not boring.
Yeah, and
Uh,
then when everyone wants Rolex to do weird stuff, and then when they do, everybody craps on it and says, "This
right.
isn't Rolex, this isn't what Rolex should be doing." So they
Yeah.
can't win for losing.
Uh, for sure. Absolutely. Two black, two blue, two gray, two green. Thinking of adding a white dial or two someday, but just a bit scared right now. Okay. All right, sure. Came here late, hearing Bobby talking about wearing something risque. So confused right now. In your
Oh,
dreams,
you
to
should have
think that.
seen.
You should have seen. Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah. You
wearing
should.
that shirt at the beginning. Tell you no,
Uh,
I'm just kidding.
I had the link up in the screen for my OnlyFans page, so you missed it.
I
Every
caught
time,
him in a
Bob.
weird transition off air before we went live. It was interesting.
Kevin, every time Bobby says "talking hands," I think of Dave Byrne. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Did he mention the watches were same as it ever was? Hmm. Okay. Let's go to the next topic, right?
All right.
It's the Federico one, right? That's the one you wanted to
Yes.
do next. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So next topic, Federico talks watches. Stop it. My advice to big watch brands, Rolex, Omega, and Grand Seiko. You're up, Clayton.
I felt like this was real vintage Federico. He
Mm,
was, he was honest, no filter, like he always is. But this was even amped up a little bit more. And he also talked about his brand new limited edition watch that he did with Turby, Del Rey. I think they
mm,
made what 17 of them. What did
yeah.
you think of that watch? Did you get to watch
Well,
that
so
other video he did on it?
yeah, yeah. So I found out about her a few years ago. I think Bill Sanders did a video about 4 or 5. No, did a video on Turby watches, and very very interesting. Yeah, I mean I'm happy. I mean that watch you can call Turby right now and get that watch done. You don't have to go get a
Right,
Del Rey.
right.
So they've had that Aventurine dial out for a few years now. And what's great about Turby is that a lot of the finishing and whatnot is a la carte, and so they have it on their site, like how much um,
Yeah, that's
each thing
cool.
costs. I actually reached out to Turby a few weeks ago because I saw somebody had one on eBay that was interesting, and had the finishing on the dial side, and I wanted to find out like who's doing their work, and they messaged me back, and they he said that they have like a watchmaker, an engraver who used to work for Patek.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
who's
Cool.
I think it's Patek. It's one of these high end brands. I'm pretty sure you said Patek. Who does all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, like if you're they're interesting. I mean, they take like 6498s, and then you can get like basic look to them, or you can get all this kind of leveling. And it's not a bad watch. Not a bad watch.
It was like a, Moser Breguet
Yeah,
crossover, right? And, they were what, 3,500 dollars. They sold out that day.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought the price was, yeah, I wouldn't buy one, but, yeah,
Mm,
it looked nice. I mean, I
yeah.
like Aventurine. It was, pretty simple watch, but it was okay.
It was
Anyway.
okay. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
okay.
it was just okay. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't buy one, but I guess it's, somewhat collectible. There were only 17 of
Yeah,
them, and then John and Fed
yeah.
each took one. So, all right, so he has some unsolicited advice. He is sick and tired of seeing brands screwing up time after time after
Mm,
time.
mhm.
So he has some unsolicited advice. You take this advice, your business will improve. His first brand he targets here is JLC. He said he likes the reissues that they're doing, the Polaris and some other watches. Keep up with that, but stop the crazy price hikes. I mean, we've talked about it, I think, on here even.
Mhm.
They've done a few in the last
Yeah.
year. I think last year or the last calendar year, they've done several.
Yeah.
So yeah, watches are buying a brand new JLC is completely out the window for me. And he just said more marketing, like we were talking about
Mm,
earlier with Rolex and other brands. RM he talked about that does a ton of marketing. Rolex, you watch racing, you watch golf, Rolex logos
mm,
everywhere.
mhm.
JLC never does any of that. They have a superior product to, both of those brands arguably, and they're not doing any marketing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about them. So amp up the marketing. Grand Seiko, develop new smaller chronograph movement. He talked about how he showed the one he showed is, pretty huge. The
Yeah.
pushers are gigantic. He said, let's slim those down because nobody wants to buy this hideous monstrosity. Taper the bracelets. The bracelets are too chunky. He wasn't a huge fan of the bracelets, but other than that, he said, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep
Mm,
going.
mhm.
For how long they were reintroduced, to the market, they're doing very well. So he just said, keep going, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
I think some of the guys, if you don't mind me interjecting, I think some of the guys who follow Grand Seiko would also add, you know, um, the limited editions. There's too many of them. Also, same release, but different dials. Just too much in. too much in the catalog, right? And I know
Yes.
he mentions that about Omega, but I think that's what it is. It's too much in the
I would
catalog,
agree.
and
I'm surprised he didn't say that, actually. They
yeah,
only produce how many watches? They don't produce that many watches, but it seems like they do.
yeah, yeah,
It
and
with
then and then-
so many, SKUs.
and because of that, I mean, like I think it's turning off a lot of people, and you see these watches take a huge hit in the secondary,
Yeah,
huge hit in the secondary.
yeah.
Right? Continue. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Audemars Piguet, he said, "Stop the superhero gimmick
Absolutely.
watches. You're douchey enough as it is.
Mm,
Douchebags buy your watches as it is. You don't need
right.
more. You don't need to attract more douchebaggery." Um, um, that I'm sure they make a killing off of, the Marvel, relationship and
Hmm.
everything like that, but have some self-respect. You're fricking AP, for God's
Yeah.
sake. Come on
Yeah.
here. Stop doing it. And a better boutique experience. He said he
Mm,
hasn't seen so many douches, since he was at the Ed Hardy convention.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
he threw douche around a lot in this
Yeah.
video.
He did.
Um, he said some are better than others. He thought everyone was nice at the Boston AP,
Hmm.
boutique, but New York City,
Hmm.
it's a terrible, terrible experience. And then he just talked about more dress watches, some
Yeah.
diversity, compete with Patek because the
Hmm.
Calatrava kills it.
Yeah.
You're Audemars Piguet, like stop messing around here and release some classy dress watches. What did you think about AP? Any thoughts on what he said?
I think it was spot on. I think it was spot on with the whole Marvel relationship, especially the Spider-Man and the Black Panther. I mean, like you're AP. He's right. I know there's gonna be some people like, oh, it's just like like a one-off or a limited release, or they're just having a little fun. But no, you're AP. I can't talk about the boutique or AD experience because I've never been to one, an AP one, because I never just never wanted to waste anybody's time but going in there. So I'll take his word for it. But I do agree with the dressy parts. At the 1159, like he's not a big fan of. I kind of like him.
Yeah,
But yeah, bring back some more dressier pieces for sure, man. I mean, like, AP is like it's a one trick pony. It's a royal oak pony. You know what I mean? And
yep.
diversify a little bit. And I think people will come. I think people will come.
It's not a brand I think about a whole lot because it's
Mm,
sorta op but I think of Royal Oak and
mhm.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So,
It's like
yeah,
Black Bay and Tudor, right? I mean,
yeah,
like, that's just
yeah.
they
Yep.
become the Black Bay
They're
brand.
certainly not the only brand that does it, for
No,
sure.
no,
Yeah,
they don't. But if you want to be if you are considered as part of the Holy Trilogy, you know what I mean, and you have that reputation, whether they care if they're considered Holy Trilogy or not, and it's part of the cachet, so I'm sure it attracts people to them. Come on, just like do something more,
right.
do something different.
Right. Um, Omega, stop it with the limited editions. He said their catalog is an absolute headache. There's so many watches. And again, they focus on Seamasters and Speedmasters, I would say, right? And they have all these other watches that are just sort of buried. They're guilty of it too, I think, to a certain extent. It's more watches than they're known for more. I think of a couple when I think of Omega versus just thinking
Hmm.
of one when I think of Audemars Piguet. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, so he just said, "Too many watches, consolidate, get rid
Hmm.
of some that aren't selling well. Let's just clean it up a little bit." Um, and have a well-priced watch with a complication. They don't really have a perpetual calendar, so
Hmm.
do something like that. He said, "I know I just told you on one hand to cut a bunch of watches, and now I'm telling you to add watches," but he
Yeah.
said, "You could do it. Just do it smart. Cut out the fluff and introduce like a reasonably priced perpetual calendar
Hmm.
watch." Um, and then, next, any thoughts on Omega? Any
Yeah,
thoughts,
yeah. I
on
mean,
what he said?
I agree with him. I felt like I mean, he mentioned it with JLC. I mean, the price hikes, like now,
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
a Sapphire Sandwich is 8 grand on bracelets.
$8,000 now.
I mean, maybe it's worth it all along, but like coming from where it was, price wise, like how the progression was rather
They don't do
quickly.
great on the secondary market either, so
No, no, they take a dive too. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I would say, that was something that he forgot to mention. Maybe it doesn't matter to him or not, but I mean, like the price hiking, it's just crazy.
yeah. Yeah, even, just a regular SMP is what, like 5,600
Yeah,
now? And yeah,
yeah, yeah.
everything went up, so
But that takes a couple grand. I mean, like, look, hey, if they can take like that big of a hit, I'm happy all day long picking up one of those watches in the secondary in the
yeah, oh,
pre-owned
yeah,
market.
yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause you can still get an SMP in pretty good shape for about
yeah,
4. 4K,
Yeah,
even
right.
maybe a little
Maybe
less,
maybe
right?
a little less,
So,
depending on
yeah,
the dial. Yeah,
right, yeah, right, or rubber bracelet too.
right.
You
That
you're
too.
definitely below 4 on rubber,
Hmm.
which I prefer the SMP on
Me
anyway.
too. Me too.
Yeah. Um, okay, yeah, so that yeah, he didn't mention that. That was a good one. Rolex, the authorized dealers suck and play games, he said.
Mm-hmm.
We've all experienced that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Customers feel unappreciated. And he also said, "Why on earth are there stores at airports? Airports are transient. You know, you can't
Yeah,
exactly like go to an airport, strike up a relationship with someone in Houston when you're passing
yeah,
through, and then
yeah,
put some interest in, and they call you like, "Oh, we have your watch," and
yeah.
you know you live in Maryland, and you're like, "Oh, geez, I guess I got to catch a flight to Houston just to pick up my darn watch." So yeah, he said no more airport. If
Mm,
he was in charge, no more Rolex airport boutiques, and just produce more watches. Crank it up. He's like,
yeah,
get another CNC machine,
yeah.
and let's make this happen. Maybe cut out some of the models nobody buys, like 28 millimeter date justs, and let's focus on the
Mm,
sports models that are popular. They're nice watches, but ultimately they are you know mass produced, right?
yeah.
So why can't you? You're Rolex, you can do it.
Mm,
And then he said a high complication watch
mm-hmm.
again, like something like he said for Omega. The Sky Dweller was a good start. He doesn't really love it, but he liked the direction it's going. So let's
Mm-hmm.
do something else, maybe on the dress watch line. I don't think they're doing. He mentioned Cellini. I don't think they're doing Cellini anymore. I think that's
Mm,
dead. But something along those lines, like a high complication watch, and it might be a lost leader, right? It
yeah.
might just be more for getting back in the game with Patek and these other brands who are doing Vacheron, who are doing complicated watches. But it may not make money right away, but it looks good. It looks good for Rolex to be doing something like this, a lost leader, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. So yeah, that's about it. What did you think of what he had to say about Rolex?
Yeah, I well, with the production wise, I believe I thought they made an announcement that they were increasing production, like they're
Yeah,
increasing their
in the next
facilities.
few
So
years, I think
yeah,
they're yeah,
so they'll have that. Yeah, the airport boutique is an interesting one because it really only, and he's got a good point, but it really only makes sense to have one if you have inventory to sell, right? I mean, like, because like you said, if you're passing by a Houston and your boutique, and you know how you can use strum up a relationship, if you live thousands and thousands and by the way, I thought these like boutiques and ADs, they only like to sell to somebody who's local anyway.
right.
Like, so like if you're like from like half the country away anyway, so there's no consistency um, there. Like, if you were gonna sell watches in the airport, yeah, just have them. Now,
Yeah,
and I think he talked about like display models. Like maybe you just have like a if you want if you're so compelled to have some representation in an airport, then just have just like a window and just show the watches. Don't even give people like the false hope that they can
yeah,
walk in there and strike up a relationship to an airport they may not go to in a few years, unless they're willing to ship the watch to you. Okay, then, but
which
they're not going to do
they're
that.
not going to do
They're not
that.
going to
Yeah,
do
right.
that, right?
I
So,
listened to the Fratello podcast, and one of the guys was talking about he was in an airport in Europe, and he got to talking, and he wanted to explore too polar dial, and he struck up a conversation with the woman, and she said, "Come back in a half hour." She like whispered it, and he was like, "Okay." So I think she maybe even like looked at his passport or something, and they probably like checked him out
mm,
while he was gone, and he came back, and they gave him one. He bought one right
wow.
there. So
Yeah, I'm sure
it
it
might be
happens.
that kind of thing that happens
Yeah,
at the airport, right?
yeah, yeah. Like very covert, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
They have to size you up first, and then make sure
yeah,
they like you, and then to check your credentials.
which is
Uh,
again points to his other thing with
yeah,
your AD experience kind of sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, Hobby Bobby saying, yeah, that Fed's watch was terrible. Torby. Yep. Um,
Homer had our biggest fan Homer had a couple turbies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yep.
they make like the pilots watches. They're even their divers are pretty cool.
Mhm.
They also have like deck watches, and then porcelain doll. I mean, if you haven't checked out their website, chat, go to Torby Watches, and just check out the amount of options that you have in creating a watch and customizing it. And look, it adds up, right? I mean, it adds up, like the
Yeah.
more customization, but okay, so be it. I mean, like I mean, that it is what it is. I mean, you pay for what you get. But not a bad brand. It's just, they just don't have the word out. I mean, I'm sure maybe in Germany people know them more,
Yeah.
but
Homer
um,
said, he had 2 of them. They were both solid.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He had like I think he had like a pilot's watch, right?
Yep.
And then I
Field
forget
watch
the.
and a diver.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right, right,
Yep.
okay, gotcha. Yep, yep.
Yep.
Um, Wolfgang got on the wait list for a Torby watch. Okay. Uh, Fed, did I mention cheapest one in the world? Ha.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah,
Uh,
every watch was the cheapest one in the world in the at the
yep,
beginning of this video.
yep, yep. I don't want a YouTube used watch dealer collab, dude. Sorry. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. No can do Fed. Okay, we got all the Fed isms.
Right.
Um, Fed's watch makes me want to buy a San
Oof.
Martin. Lies did. Um, let's see here. Anybody else? Marvel toys belong to Happy Meals and Toys R Us aisles. It's okay to leave your youth culture behind when you grow up. Um, very true. I mean, hey, I don't want that with my AP. Um, code 1159 has multiple very cool pieces to offer these. I agree. I didn't like them at first, but now with some of the variety that's come out with them, I like that
Yeah.
watch. Um, I actually heard that the AP boutique experience in New York is much improved these days. I think Fed may be operating on some old
Yeah.
info.
He's been in Miami a long time, so it could
Yeah.
be completely different.
Um, hey, Amin just got back
Hey,
from Vegas. He was in Vegas too.
awesome.
Um, cool. Um, TSA workers are a huge market for Rolex. Those airport stores make perfect sense to me.
Uh,
Uh, okay, okay. Let's move on to the next topic, and that again, Andrew Morgan, Talking Hands. This was Sanjay's pick, but Sanjay couldn't make it today. Um, I made a big mistake, and so I caught this video. I only watched it once. I didn't take any notes because I didn't know I was going to be putting this up.
Same.
So I'm just going to go back from what I remember, and he talks about his first luxury watch that he bought when he graduated college as an engineering degree, and he thought he should have done more research on it, right? And
U-boat flight deck it
yeah,
was, though,
he
right?
ended up getting a U-boat flight deck, right? And he said he wore for a long time, and and it was just a big old watch, like a 50 meter diameter, 50 millimeter diameter watch. And it was a big old thing, and then kind of like getting like weird looks from his coworkers and whatnot. I think his next mistake was selling his Submariner. He had bought
Yes.
a
No date sub.
Submariner, a no date sub, in the 2000s, and then he loved it so much that he sold it. He said, right, and then and when and he said he wouldn't necessarily go back and buy it again, but he also said that he's probably priced out of getting one anyway.
Yeah.
So that's the risk behind it. And then he mentioned the channel, the Watchfinder and Company channel, and how it was really taking off in 2019, and then COVID happened, and a lot of their viewers who were much older stopped watching, and he figured probably because they had it was COVID and they had things to take. I mean, they were responsible, they had things to do, and so I mean they still have like hundreds and hundreds of thousands
I
of
was a little confused by
yeah,
that because
yeah,
they're, like, one of the biggest outside of Nico Leonard, they're probably, like, what,
and
2nd or
Teddy.
3rd, right?
Yeah,
Teddy,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that was a little bit surprising that he brought that up, and he blames. Look, maybe it's plateaued, and that's what's happening,
Yeah.
and he blames that on more so of like not working the algorithm, I think, and not adapting to shorts as early on as they should have with some of the channels, and overall better channel. I mean, there's other channels that have come up in the last couple of years that are just as good, and he mentioned a few of them. Um, do you have any mistakes, big mistakes, big mistakes? I know we have regrets, right?
Yeah.
But was there like a big mistake, anything like that?
I guess it depends. Ultimately, like, I had an Explorer that I got from, a friend of, Random Rob's who was looking he had to get rid of it, and I was in the market for one, and, this was right before COVID, so probably right before the madness. So, I actually bought it, and he had the receipt and everything, it was legit. He had the receipt, so I didn't feel bad about buying it. He I bought it below retail, and then that was the 214270. It was the 39
Mm,
millimeter, and then that one got
yeah.
discontinued.
Mm.
And they went crazy there for a bit, and sorry, I have dog
That's right.
shaking here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they went crazy, and then I started to think about a Submariner,
Yeah.
and I really loved that Explorer. That was a watch I wore all the time. It was like my first Rolex, and I just genuinely enjoyed wearing it. The 39 millimeter size was perfect. It just fit me so well. I did even ding it. I put a couple good marks on it. I banged it against our kitchen counter. So it was like, but I like those battle scars because it was a stupid story. It wasn't anything cool. Like
Mm,
I didn't fall on a hike or something. I just swinging my arms like a big idiot in my kitchen. So I anyway, I sold it when I got a lot of money for it. I basically doubled what I paid for it. And then I bought a Submariner, didn't bond with the Submariner, sold the Submariner, and hindsight is 2020. But I wish I just kept the Explorer. I think I just
mm,
would have been.
mm,
I think it created a lot of because then of course I tried to get into authorized dealers, and I found that very frustrating. And I ended up buying the sub from a gray market dealer because it was just easier. It yeah, made the whole it was just a whole big production, and I was just a lot happier but then I never would have known, and that would have probably eaten at me, right? So,
yeah.
it's easy to say that now, but, at the time, I felt like it was the right thing to do, but I really liked that watch, and now I have the
Yeah.
Air King, and I really don't have a need for an Explorer, but, yeah, that was just such a great watch. So, I
Yeah.
guess and I've made some buying mistakes, buying things maybe a little over retail or buying some, some might say toxic watches, and then we impulsively buy something and
Mm,
we have to sell, and then you take a hit. Whereas
mhm.
if I just waited for a while, I may have liked it again or
Yeah.
sold it at a better time or found a better time
Yeah.
to sell it. So yeah, I think those kind of mistakes we've all made.
Yeah.
If you've been in the hobby and you're a pretty active buyer and seller. But yeah, those are the big ones. I don't know that I've done anything like majorly catastrophic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Like, there's nothing like overly catastrophic. I think the I have like maybe a couple that like selling the Black Bay 58 in the first place a few years ago.
Yeah.
That was a watch that I really really like. Now look, I mean, I was making room for some other watches, right? So I mean, I had to sell it, and I felt like it was also going to compete or not compete, but it was like redundant with the Submariner that I was in the process of getting at the time that I sold it, or I sold it or bought it as soon around that time that I sold it. Anyway, that watch like was my first foray back into watch collecting, like serious watch. I'm not talking like the SAXs that I picked up or the Seiko monsters or stuff like that. You know, not those kind of watches. It was that watch that really got me back into collecting again, and it had a lot of meaning. You know, I I I met the AD on a trip to when I was at Puerto Rico. I stopped in, and my mother had just recently passed away, and it kind of like all melded together. Like the watch kind of reminded me of my
Yeah.
mom, and
I remember you were really into that watch.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then when I finally got it, like it arrived on like my daughter's like first year, her 1 year old. She's that was her day, her first birthday, first year birthday. So, um, it had just like a lot of little symbolisms in it, and I sold it. So anyway, that was probably and the second one was like also selling my Kadoki, but I needed to do it at the time for some reasons. But that was a big mistake. Anyway, getting to YouTube, because he talks a little bit about it, right? About like his channel not adapting. I think uh,
You adapted, you shot up, really
yeah.
quick.
This is a good one. Wait a minute.
Oh,
How
yeah,
did you
your
forget this
first
one?
mistake. Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. That's
I'm
true.
surprised you
That's
didn't
true.
mention that one.
Yeah. See,
Play some
like,
music.
yeah, I know. I mean, I'm so grateful that like the my memory is living in the chat because they remind me of stuff. But like, so like my regret with or my big mistake with the channel, it wasn't I just didn't anticipate how much um time it would take, like
Hmm.
for me, like to put out stuff that I was kind of like sort of kind of proud of, you know what I mean? And now that, like, my private life is so full and busy, and it's great stuff, like I feel like I don't have enough time for the channel to make it like what I would love to make it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so like, I do say that it's not really that important to me, but at some point, some part of me, it's like I still have like some competitiveness in me, and I just wish that, I had the time to make it a top notch type channel in my eyes. Anyway, but I do enjoy doing all this.
Well, you put a
Yeah.
lot of thought into your live stream topics. You don't just go
Oh,
on,
barely.
oh, no, I think you always have
Sometimes I
good
do. Yeah,
topics. You
yeah.
always have
Thank
good
you,
topics
thank you.
and, engaging guests and, like the Dibs Duds thing, I just thought that was not only hysterical, but also informative too.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
learned, about some of these deals you can get, and it's surprising with, a watch like the Chronomaster. I
yeah.
remember, like, my buddy was on a waiting list at Topper. It took him quite a while to get the call for that. Now, to think like less than 2 years later or whatever it is there. So that's all good
Exactly. Yeah,
information. You do put a lot of, I know it means a lot to you.
yeah,
You don't want to get on and just talk. You came up with this idea, watch soup. This is your idea. So I mean, yeah, you try.
yeah. I do
You
try.
should give yourself some more credit.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You're great. I love you, man. I love you.
I love
Um,
you.
let's jump into. We have a bonus topic, guys. Bonus topic. Um,
Yes.
and Clayton, Ben's Watch Club. If launches were honest, introducing the spaghetti scam and Eddie icon. Please
Yeah,
tell us
so
about this one.
you guys should go. It's like a 5-minute video if you're familiar with Ben's Watch Club. It's basically a spoof on like watch launch promotional videos. It's hilarious. I think it's like, Tudor does them, and Tudor has that like 12-year-old sounding narrator always. That guy's voice is like, really, you couldn't find someone better. So Ben found two really a man and a woman for this promotional video. So yeah, the watch is called the spaghetti scametti icon, and it starts off like, "How do you break the status quo? We've changed the industry forever. This is designed to make you superior. This music is in this video to convince you this is something really important, right?"
Yeah, yeah,
And then they get into the scametti icon. Uh, um, it's made of a special alloy called Tin Skin 3.0. This is you have to watch the video.
yeah,
I wish I would have thought to put it in earlier. It's developed to create a special iron oxide patina, which is rust.
yeah, 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 yeah,
um, and if you drop it, it's so fragile it might break, but you get your own custom skeletonized watch if you were to
yeah,
break it and
yeah,
fall. And if the unfortunate situation happens where you get your watch wet at all, it's okay. You just go on their website and you order another one. Problem solved. No big
yeah,
deal.
yeah, yeah,
Um, its anti-theft properties are that it's generic Alibaba looking, so no one's going to want to steal it. So anti-theft built in. Integrated bracelet, reflectivity. It will blind your friends with the reflective
yeah.
properties on the crystal. They use fragilite crystal. It's superior, but they couldn't really think of any reasons why. So, oh, I love this enhanced misalignment with the hands, markers, and logos to make every watch unique to you. Whoever buys one is always going to be different. Something else is going to be misaligned. Um, ignore that it's a cheap movement. It's a Miyota. It's a luxury Miyota. Citizen owns Miyota. They're a luxury brand, so are they.
Yeah,
Scametti. There's no micro adjust whatsoever. So they just said, if you want adjustment, just skip meals, because if you lose some weight and you starve yourself, the watch is going to fit much better, right? Especially in hotter
yeah,
weather. Um, they have the 30-second warranty. So by the time you open the box, it's over. The middleman has been eliminated. He has been murdered. They actually did another video. They did a few of these spaghetti. They actually murdered, literally shot with a machine gun, the middleman. So his blood might be in the box on the warranty card. It's a magnetic warranty card that might magnetize the watch, but that's okay. You can just buy another one. And then they have the eternity shipping plan. It takes forever. It's environmentally friendly, so you'll never end up getting the watch. It's a next decade delivery guarantee, and that's kind of how the video ends. So yeah, you guys should watch it. It's I probably didn't do it justice at all, but it's pretty funny. I thought it was funny.
That no, you did it. You explained it really well. It was a great little spoof. A lot of
Yeah,
effort on that. You know what I mean? It's
that was better than the, Tudor, like, really I watched that video announcing this new
yeah,
Pelagos with, Red Bull, Alinghi Racing, and
yeah,
yeah, that guy's voice, it doesn't sound professional, like, these 2 narrators, the male and female, they both sounded that was a better produced fake, uh, spoof video than, like, Tudor did for that new Pelagos.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
tremendous, production value.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was funny. I like when people take chances like this and do that because it could go very, very wrong and your effort could be wasted or it could, blow
Got
up and
about
do well.
20,000 views as
20,000
of,
views and
yeah, so that's
yeah,
pretty good. I don't know
that's
what he
pretty good.
usually gets. I know he has a fairly big channel, like
Yeah,
175,000
I could have sworn
subscribers.
he had like 30 last year and now it's just like
Yeah,
blown
he's
up. So
another one of those that blew
good
up.
for him,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, no, guys, I mean, if you have a chance,
It's only like
definitely,
5 minutes.
yeah,
It's worth checking out. And then, yeah, he did, I didn't watch the other one he did, but he did the, where they had the, middleman in, like, a hostage situation. It was,
yeah.
like, pretty dark. They actually just, like, yeah, they shot him.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I got to check that out too. But I heard about it. Watch Soup is a great. Thank you. Is Rob wearing a bird shirt? I mean, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, there is a
Yeah.
bird, and it's kind of like an eagle.
I've been focusing on that, wondering what that is.
Yeah, this is like one of these lucky shirts that you get at the mall. Like
Okay.
10 years ago, and it still
Thought it
kind
might
of
be Ed
fits.
Hardy.
No, 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 not
No?
that hard. It's got like a hole or two somewhere, so it's probably on its way out to be
Oh,
a.
those are the best T-shirts, though. The Golden Boy, as, Jerry Seinfeld would call it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
These will have a second life as like a rag.
Right.
Mrs. Legs will cut it up, and if there's like an errant spill that the kids do something, we just have like these like cloths or rags that we just use as opposed to using like a towel or something like that. So it'll have another life somehow. But we're gonna stick to it for a little bit because now I totally realized there's a bird here. I think I've had this shirt for like forever and just never realized there was a bird there. Um, I'm looking at a small phone screen, Steve, and it looks like a bird to me. Um, so perfect for primetime TV show then. When you're a star, never change, man. LOL. What are you talking about? Watch Soup as a primetime TV show? Maybe. All right, let's do it. Looks like a rabbit.
That's what I thought
Ah,
it was. I thought it was a
really?
rabbit.
Do you think like that's the ears? Like
It
these are
reminded
the
me
ears?
of Roger Rabbit. I was like, "Is he wearing like a" that's what I thought it was,
Yeah,
but
this
I
is
don't know.
I think this is the eagle's head right here. I think it's an eagle, and then you have like the wings, of course, right around here, and then
Oh,
like you see it, and it says "Protect and Serve 1985." Like
wow.
what? Like no, I didn't buy the shirt in '85. Maybe 2005 or 2000. No, it can't be that old. Um, but yeah, I mean, it fit me. I got like a couple of these at the time at the mall, and it just they fit me well. Like now, not so much, but I mean, like it fit me well. I don't know. Amin says at first I thought it was a bunny. Wait, really? I mean, like you guys are getting bunny out of that? All right, I
Yeah,
guess.
'cause it looks like the ears, the 2, I guess those are the eagle's wings, it looks like ears, and then the bottom part looks like could be a bunny's face. That's where I was going.
Paul saying, the shirt has a hole in it, and this one doesn't. Going with the holes in the shirt. Three, two, one, action. Sorry, find it so funny. All right. I mean, this, we try to entertain, Clayton and I here.
Right.
and Sanjay.
We're not chaps, we don't, put on
Yeah,
nice
yeah, we
clothes.
don't, yeah, right. Um, is the mall dead? I was having this conversation with somebody. I think like the high end malls are, I think, still doing well. Anyway, here in
Yeah.
Jersey,
Same
like
in we have one in Providence, and it's still there's some stores closed.
yeah.
I was there a few months ago, but, yeah, I think it still does pretty well. It's still jam-packed with people.
Yeah, yeah. I think like we're like the mid-tier mall and then the smaller malls, I think those are going like
Yeah.
the malls that have like J.C. Penney and Sears anchoring them, those are gone.
Yeah.
Those are not.
Yeah.
But like if you have like, if you have like a Nordstrom's or even like a Macy's anchoring and just like some more like really high end stores in it, because there's Garden State Plaza here in Jersey, in North Jersey, and then Short Hills Mall, not too far, and those have like uber high end stores, and they're full. They're
Yeah.
full. Like, no, there's nobody out of business there.
There's one in
So,
Boston at Copley Square, and that's where they have some high-end stores there, but they have, Grand Seiko Boutique is there,
mm-hmm.
Tourneau is there,
Yeah,
Tag
yeah, yeah.
Boutique, so yeah, I think, yeah, there's some Brooks Brothers, I mean, yeah, there's
Sure.
some higher end, and some female, I can't think of them right now, but high-end stores geared towards females also, so, yeah, depends. Bigger cities, I think, yeah, you're right, they're doing fine.
Yeah, like the one that Short Hills Mall that has the Rolex boutique, and right next to it has the Omega boutique, and then right next to that has a Hermes boutique,
Oh,
and there's
wow.
lines. Every time I've been there, there's always lines coming out of that Hermes boutique, and another Rolex one. There's lines too. But and then they have other high end stores too, and I'm sure they have lines coming out of there too.
I went to a
Um,
crazy mall in New York City, right by the, 9/11 memorial. They have a Swatch store there, they have a
uh-huh.
Breitling boutique, they have, yeah, some high-end, they
Well,
definitely have some high-end stores.
in the train station, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, yeah,
forget
yeah,
what
yeah.
it's called right now,
The
but,
Oculus or whatever.
yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's a swanky it's very, like,
Mhm,
futuristic, you look like
mhm.
it's, something out of the 2001: A Space
Yeah, it's
Odyssey
like
or
a lot
something.
of
It's
like
all white too. Yeah, it's
white
white.
marble looking. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Because when the PATH train runs in there, and so from Jersey you can
right.
jump on there and
Yep.
get to World Trade, and then you can come up and there's like the Breitling. I've been to that Breitling boutique. I've been to a couple of those
Yeah,
boutiques in there.
yeah.
Um, Scott's saying,
Longines Boutique too, right
oh
there.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yep.
true. I live next to an outdoor mall. It's a mix of high end restaurants and places like Forever 21. It's doing really well. Um, Bruno saying, what watch stores are in Short Hills? So you do have the Rolex boutique. You have the um, Omega boutique. There's Cartier. Um, there's got to be. There's definitely more. I'm just drawing a blank. Um,
Do you like shopping at the boutiques versus, Tourneau or, Watches of Switzerland that has a lot of brands? How do you compare the experience?
um, I like. So I like the boutique because I feel like and look, I know some of these boutiques are associated with ADs, but they're just on their own. They're kind of just like their own organism, and I feel like there's less. I've had experiences in the Boston boutique and really positive experiences in the Boston boutique and really positive experiences in the Short Hills boutique because I feel like there's no pressure
Yeah,
to buy other stuff, even though there are tagged with they are tied to ADs actually. But I don't feel I just like that experience. I just like that experience better.
yeah.
There is a different. I mean, like I'm not super experienced going to Rolex ADs, um, but the boutiques have been very you know
I've never been to
good.
a Rolex boutique, be interesting, but the Breitling boutique at that Oculus place was, yeah, the sales, guy I talked to there, was one of only, like, 8 or 10 Breitling, representatives invited to go out to Switzerland for their
Ah,
new release launch, so this guy was, um, very knowledgeable. We had a great talk.
hmm
Yeah, he sat down, showed me the new, what are they called? The car-themed watches, I can't think of what they're called right now, but those had just come in, the one with the Mustang
yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
cars,
yeah.
yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Shelby. Yeah,
hmm
so those were cool, and yeah, he gave me a good, like, 20 minutes, and I told him, like, "Yeah, not buying anything today." He still took the time to talk to me and gave me his card, and, yeah, so that was really great, and the Longines guys were very nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bruno, they also have Breitling, Bulgari, London Jewelers, and then London Jewelers has owns the Rolex boutique, but they're not in the same. They're separate. Omega, like I said, and well, Tiffany and Co. Um, they have Van Cleef and Arpels, but it's probably more jewelry stuff there. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, they got London Jewelers probably has like a Tudor and all these other watches. Let's wrap this up and take a look at what people are saying here. That's the Oculus. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a boondoggle
Yeah,
of a
it's,
training station.
crazy. My, nephews from small town Michigan were just like, "Where are we?" They thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, listen, Clayton, we made it. We made
Yes.
it without Sanjay. But hopefully he'll be back joining us next weekend at Watch Soup. Hey, what do you got going on this week? What's going on in the podcast?
Just had, Pete McConville on
Oh, cool.
yesterday's episode. We compared dog breeds with, watch brands.
Nice.
It took him to think of that idea. I can't believe my wife thought it was hysterical that all these years of doing the podcast, I've never ever thought of that idea. Like that should have been the first episode I
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
I'm an idiot. So yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And that's I think I'm going to have Keith on to I know you did the other night talk
Hmm.
about wind up a little bit and his
Oh
thoughts
yeah.
and some of the watches he tried on. So I think we're hopefully going to record that this week. So
Awesome, awesome. And you guys, please check out Clayton's Watchdog podcast link in the description below. Also, link to Sanjay's channel, Engineer Wannabe. I'm Bobby Legs. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
good night. Have a good week.